Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope all of you are doing well. So, this is going to be a thrift store haul. Went out to one of the local thrift stores in town, and I was very surprised on the amount of new stuff that she got in. There was literally a tub full of just really great titles. I mean, there was Kingpin, Cheech and Chong Still Smoking. There was Dogma. The disc was not in the best shape. I could have repaired it, but I just didn't want to deal with it. So I just passed on it. But there was so much, and her DVDs are, I believe they're $1, but if you buy two of them, you get them for $1.50. So you're basically paying 75 cents, which is not a bad deal. So you're getting, I believe, like four DVDs for $3. So I try to take advantage of that every time I go in. But I did manage to find some great stuff, a few out of print stuff, which was really cool. Trying to figure out what titles I wanted was a little difficult. I passed on some because there's a Blu-ray for maybe a good price or a 4K. So yeah, but let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one here is So I Married an Axe Murderer with Mike Myers. This was a really cool find. Love this movie. The scene where he's basically Mike Myers is playing like a dual role. He plays like the father, and the scene with the kid in front of the TV with the curly fro and getting on to him about being, blocking the TV. It's just absolutely hilarious. This movie is fantastic. Not a Mike Myers film that, you hear people talk about often. Mainly when we think of Mike Myers, the two films uh, that come to mind are the Wayne's World films and the Austin Power films. But So I Married an Axe Murderer is still a fun one that he has done. Next is a Van Damme film, Hard Target. I want to slowly start getting a lot of the Van Damme films. A lot of his older stuff, a lot of his newer stuff is not all that great. I've heard some very disappointing things, but I love, 90s, late 80s, early 90s Van Damme. I feel like I got a sneeze, so I apologize. So I wanted to start getting a lot more of what he has. Eventually, I will upgrade, some of these films that I have to Blu-ray if I can come across them for a good price. But yeah, very, very excited to sit down and watch that. This was a really cool find. I found Grandma's Boy absolutely hilarious. I mean, by now everyone has seen this movie. Unfortunately, there is no Blu-ray. I think as of right now, the only way you can get this on Blu-ray is by buying a homebrew release, which is basically a bootleg. I do believe there might be an HD copy out there that had been on one of the streaming services, but other than that, that's pretty much it. And I believe this is a 20th Century Fox release. Yes, so because Disney owns Fox, a lot of the films that are under that um, company, they're not going to probably see the light of day of a Blu-ray release unless another company decides to, get the rights for it to release some type of 4K or Blu-ray. But as popular as this movie is, I would not be surprised if this movie got a Criterion release. That's just my opinion, though. But great cast, just a very entertaining film, and very happy to find that. The next one here, excuse me, I'm so glad to find, excuse me, Get Over It. So Get Over It was kind of an early 2000s film that kind of came around the same time the film Whatever It Takes came out. And Sheen West is actually in both movies, but this also stars Kirsten Dunst. You got Ben Foster. You got Colin Hanks, Martin Short, Cisco. I've always enjoyed this one. I've seen it a few times on TV. I'm a fan of like the early 2000 like rom-coms in some way, but there are some that came out during that time period that kind of just fell under the radar because you had films like American Pie, American Pie 2. You had whatever not whatever it takes. Say it isn't so, no, not say it isn't so well. I'm getting way ahead of myself. Um, She's All That, and there was the other one, Can't Hardly Wait. That's the one I was trying to get to. So those movies became, like very popular and kind of, these kind of fell under the radar and were overshadowed. But they're still enjoyable, as cheesy as they are. They're still entertaining in some way, and I'm very happy to have this one. I may do a double feature of this and whatever it takes sometime soon. I was very happy to find this. So they had the sequel, and I already have the sequel. My copy's not that bad. That copy might have been a little bit worse. Some of the discs I checked, some were good, some not so much. But as I was moving stuff around to see what they had, I did manage to find the first movie. So now I have the collection complete. Now, I was not aware of this. So there is a 4K release of the first movie in a 4K steelbook. But the sequel is not available on 4K in the steelbook set. It's only available on Blu-ray. Excuse me. So I thought that it, both films were available on 4K, which is disappointing. Maybe down the road I will pick up the steelbook, but I did manage to find Heavy Metal, the only one I needed. There's only two films in the series. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't gotten like a third one. Heavy Metal is kind of one of those movies where you really could make sequels because they're just animated films and you can still bring in like a lot of the classic rock music that has been out for a while to put into a third film. These films are like very unique in their own way. The interesting thing about the 80s and 90s is that we had a lot of like adult themed cartoons that didn't get as popular as you think they would. But over the years, they have grown a cult following. And for a lot of us who were kids at that time, now that we're older and watching these films, it's weird. We have an appreciation for them. We understand why we couldn't watch them, but our mindset is like, one, this film isn't that bad, and two, oh, now I see why, and you just get more of appreciation for it. But I am very happy to finally have this, and it'll sit nicely right next to the second movie. And what's great about a lot of these is that they do include the chapter selection insert, so that was pretty cool. This was a cool find. This isn't not a print DVD, but I found 4 rooms. I saw this for the first time many years ago and really enjoyed it. It was a lot different than what I was expecting, but for what it was, I still enjoyed it. I believe this is a Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez collaboration. Yes, them, and then there's two others that worked with them to write the script for this and direct it. Um, which is cool, and it's got a fantastic cast. I mean, you have the likes of Tim Roth, Antonio Banderas, Jennifer Beals, Sammy Davis, Lily Taylor, Marissa Tomei, Madonna. It's just a really great cast, and highly recommend for those who may have not seen it to give it a watch. The next one here is a Martin Lawrence film, and I've never seen this movie, but I've heard some really good things about it. But it's the film Nothing to Lose. It also stars Tim Robbins. I've heard some really great things about this movie, and it's kind of been on my wish list for a while. Um, So I'm glad I was able to find it. The interesting thing is that this movie does not have a Blu-ray, at least here in the States. It might have one overseas, maybe in the UK or Australia, but at least here in the States, I don't believe it has one, which is unfortunate. I think this movie deserves it, from at least from what I've seen and from the cult following that this movie has in some way. It definitely I feel like deserves it. Now this is a Touchstone home video release, so yeah, this movie probably won't see the light of day because I think Touchstone is also owned by Disney. The interesting thing about a lot of studios back in the 80s and 90s, some studios bought other studios and then like that another company came in and bought those two. Like it's so weird. It's like a domino effect. But yeah, I'm excited to watch that one. This was a cool find. So I I'm a big rock fan. I grew up with a lot of classic rock, Aerosmith, the Rolling Stones, Ozzy Osbourne. Black Sabbath had a lot of their stuff out. Led Zeppelin. So I grew up, listening to a lot of these bands, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and like if you go really further back, you got bands like Pink Floyd and Deep Purple and all these other groups at the time, and that's what I grew up with, and I'm still a fan now. Mind you, I do listen to a wide variety of different genres, but rock is always going to be my main one. And I remember seeing this many, many years ago, but it's Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is pretty cool. And I think this is like the original DVD release. It's an interesting film, but it's definitely worth checking out. I feel, especially if you are a Pink Floyd fan and you haven't seen it, um, it's worth a watch. And this is kind of the, you know, teacher, leave those kids alone. All in all, we're just another brick in the wall. That's where this comes into play. When did this come out? I know it came out like way back in the day, 1982, and this is the original 1999 DVD release. So that was a cool find. Another cool find was Carrot Top Rock Las Vegas. This is a stand-up special. Um, I've always enjoyed Carrot Top. I know he had a couple of movies back in the 90s, really big in the 90s, and then just kind of disappeared for a while. He has a residence in Vegas, so he does a lot of shows over there. And the boy's in shape. I will say that this guy has definitely decided to use his downtime to get in shape. So I'm looking forward to it. And the cool thing is that apparently this is a ticket from 2004, January 2nd, to see Carrot Top at the Hollywood Theater. The price ticket at that time was only $35. It's probably like $100 to $200 now. So that's cool. So to get a ticket, somebody put their ticket in here. That is cool. Um, so yeah, that was a nice find. This was a really good find too because I remember seeing clips of this. It stars Vin Diesel. This is where he, I think he's wearing like I wouldn't say a toupee, but like a headpiece to make it seem like he has hair. Um, but it's the film Find Me Guilty. I think this is where he plays like a lawyer and he's trying to, I want to say he's trying to cover, help people he works for get out of jail or stay out of jail, something like that. I could be wrong. Um, but yeah, I'm excited. It's got a great cast too. I think you have the likes of, who else is in this? I don't think it's going to say. Uh, Peter Dinklage. You have the likes of Peter Dinklage, which seems to be the only actor I know of. But there are a few that have familiar faces, like on the back here. You guys recognize his face. It's one of those character actors. You know who he is, but you don't know the name. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this one out. And then the last one I picked up is Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, which stars John Johnson and Mickey Rourke way before the plastic surgery. I had this at one point, but never got the opportunity to watch it. So when I saw uh, this in the bin, I at the thrift store, I decided to go ahead and grab it. Looking forward to it. I've seen clips online, and it looks like it's going to be a really good one. I've heard some pretty good reviews, so I'm excited. But there you have it. That is my thrift store haul. Decided to take a break from finding inventory since I do have enough to keep me occupied with listings. So I mainly just decided to hunt for myself. Didn't find any Blu-rays. There were a few, but nothing that really caught my interest, unfortunately. So it is what it is. It happens. It's all part of hunting. But there you have it, guys. That's the thrift store haul. So not bad. A lot of great titles. A few out of print stuff. Um, so you can't go wrong with that. Definitely check out your local thrift stores. You never know what you're going to find. Uh, if you're able to, go every week. You never know what new is going to be added in. And you may get lucky and find a very out of print, excuse me, out of print title. It has happened on rare occasions. I mean, I can use a great example. Dave from Cinema Sickness, he had done a video, I think a year or two ago, and he was at a thrift store and he found the Free Willy Blu-ray. And if you guys know your out of print knowledge, that you know that movie is not only out of print, but it's going anywhere from 150 to like 200, maybe more, especially if it's brand new. So yeah, you never know what you're going to find at your local thrift store. So I highly recommend you guys go ahead and do so, because you may be finding something off your list of films, a holy grail. You never know. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up. It's very much appreciated, and it helps me. Comment down below what your thoughts are on any of these movies. If you've seen them, I would definitely love to hear your guys' opinion. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I do collection updates or movie hauls, whatever you want to call them, unboxings, movie reviews, and just so much more. So if that's something that catches your interest, then go ahead, do so. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you guys are notified when I do, have a video uploaded. So I'm Film Talk with Mikey. Till next time, guys, we'll talk films. You guys have a good one. Take care, and I will see you guys next time.